Okay, so we're gonna move over to the NHL now and talk about both of our favorite teams. I think in the Flames because we've finally got some interesting news going on over there. Unfortunately, Jacob Markstrom is out with a broken finger, and obviously not a good thing. But there is a but to it, and there is a reason that some Flames fans are looking at it almost more of as a positive in a very weird and messed up way in the fact that we are finally seeing Dustin Wolf potentially coming up to the NHL for longer than just a game or two, which means that this is a uniquely weird opportunity for the team to maybe see what this prospect looks like and also to see how good Dan Vladar can be in that starting role. There's like a lot of people who there's a lot of people out there who I don't know how to say that. I don't know. I'm having a stroke right now. Who almost feel as though as Dan Vladar hasn't been given a chance either, and you're also giving the chance to just for him to get a little bit more film on tape. This intro has been all over the place, but you know what I mean. This is a weird opportunity for for the Flames right now. I'm gonna throw this over to you before I have a damn stroke.
I mean, yeah, I think it obviously sucks anytime you have an injury. Like you don't
Yeah,
want that to be how
yeah, of
Markstrom.
course.
Markstrom's not going to lose his job. They're paying him too much money to lose his job, and it's not like he's playing poorly. This isn't a Jack Campbell situation where he's just so garbage that they can't even justify having him on the team anymore. He's played pretty well.
Yeah,
It's just unfortunate he's
he's
got an
had an
injury.
896 save percentage, which is
Not that
okay.
it's
Like
not
it's not
great, but it's
great,
not.
but it's
He's not playing terrible.
he's not the reason they're losing
I
games.
haven't. I have not been watching the Flames all that closely this year, but I have not heard the same like
No.
vigor in
Last
which people
year,
are like
last year we were
facing
losing games because
Markstrom.
Markstrom wasn't playing well. This year he's playing okay and we're losing. I wouldn't necessarily say the
Yeah,
two things are, you know, related. Like he
related.
could be
Yeah,
better. Like obviously there's always the conversation when you have an 896 save percentage, there's always going to be the conversation that you can be better, but that's not the reason that we're losing games at all.
yeah, yeah. And I think I don't know. It'll be interesting to see because I mean we've talked about this in the segment before. I think the Dan Vladar starting angle is interesting, but obviously not what people are going to be focused on because we've talked.
No.
Feels like we've been talking about bringing Dustin Wolf up for like the last 2 years,
Yeah.
and they brought him up for like a stretch, and then they're going to send him back down for whatever reason. It's just been this roller coaster ride, but now he's actually going to get a relatively extended chance with a couple of games.
And
Um,
the conversation has been that I think people are expecting him to get 80 or Vladar to start 80% of the games, right? Like that's kind of been the idea where they want to do the same thing they've been doing all year. That has been the big quote that people have been taking out of this, where they're going to look at it as nothing's changed. Vladar is going to get the same amount of time that Markstrom would have been getting, and Wolf is going to get the same amount of time that Vladar has been getting. That is how they plan on doing things until Markstrom is ready to come back. And like you said, I think most people are going to be focusing on Wolf starts, including the. And we kind of got an early start to that with Vladar leaving the game after the first period. In the last game that we would have happened before this podcast, which was on Tuesday. Or we're recording this on December 6th, just for context. So it was the game that happened last night. Vladar led in 2 goals in 90 seconds at the start of the second period, and Wolf came in and played a pretty good game. He played really, really well. The did not win the game. Wolf ended up letting in 2 goals, with the second one being kind of flimsy. But the entire moral of the story is every time that we've seen Wolf come in, there's been a lot of excitement around the team. Like it's almost like you can feel it. Like every time that we've gotten that start, like when he was starting in Ottawa, it was like there was hype built around the entire game. And the second they actually announce him as the starter for a game, everybody's gonna go nuts.
you know, yeah, and I almost feel bad for him just in terms of like
Oh, of course.
if it is 80-20, that's rough. I would almost like it to be more 50-50 so he has a more extended period of time to prove
Yeah.
himself.
No, and I agree
Because
with you
I mean
completely.
it's like what we just talked about in our Zach Wilson segment, just the pressure that's put on young players to perform. And I know Calgary's been sheltering him in the AHL for a long time, but if you're only calling him up like 2 games at a time, if he
Yeah.
shits the bed in those two
Well,
games, it doesn't mean he's a bad goalie, but they're gonna send
it's
him
so
down
hard
like
with
he
goalie
played.
prospects. It's like nothing else in any other sport, I'd argue.
Yeah.
Like because there's no good way to do it. You could bring up a goalie too early where they absolutely dominate for a season and then the next season they suck because expectations are too high. Like you could wait till they're 30 and then you're too late. Like you have to like literally throw a dart and hope you're right with goalie prospects half the time. So that's why the Flames don't want to take a risk. The issue is Dustin Wolf's kind of forcing your hand here because he's been so incredible at every single level of hockey he's played. In the CHL, dominated. AHL, dominated. Now he's very ready to go to the NHL level. But the Flames are scared to pull the trigger because what if you trade Vladar and all of a sudden Wolf sucks and you need to send him back down to the AHL? What then? Right? Like that's the worry with the Flames. That you're. Just...
I mean, but even if he sucks, though, like you can have him back up Markstrom, and that's not that big of a deal. Like if you have a shit backup, like and not even like the chances I think that Wolf is.
But they also don't want the fans to turn on him either, because if he's just a crap backup, then it's gonna take. You know what Flames fans are like. It's gonna take 3 games before everybody's gonna be crapping all over.
Oh, I don't. With the amount of time that Dustin Wolf has been hyped up, I think it will take significantly more than that for Flames fans to turn on him.
3 bad games.
I think it's gonna take a lot more.
I think 3 bad games would be enough to be seeing the word bust on Twitter, which is ridiculous. But I think that's what they're trying to avoid.
It is. I don't think that's going to happen. And even if it does happen, you can't shelter him anymore just because you're afraid that that's going to be the response.
Yeah, and I'm kind of playing devil's advocate because I have been the person who's like, Wolf needs to start now. You're wasting him because he's too good for the AHL. The thing is, with the scary line for most goalies is deciding whether he's too good for the AHL or if he's too bad for the NHL. There's like this big of a gap. It's just trying to figure out where Wolf is in there. I'm explaining it kind of poorly, but it's what I've called it over the years has almost been the Calvin Pickard scale. Because back in like 2016, he was known as the guy who dominated in the AHL, get called up by Colorado, suck, get sent down. Dominated in the AHL, get called up by Colorado, suck, get sent back down. It's almost like it's the area of what do you do in that when the goalie's in that time. And I think a lot of the worry for the Flame is that is exactly where Dustin Wolf is right now. I don't agree.
You don't know that. Don't know that. Yeah.
Most of the times when a goalie is too good for the AHL and too bad for the NHL, they're not this good. Like if this is the Calvin Pickard scale, Dustin Wolf is probably here. Maybe here. Like he's above it. He's broke through that. I think you just need to give him a chance. Like give him a real chance. I think
any other organization would have at this point.
Yeah. It's funny because you always hear people hyping up Devin Levi as this big next goalie prospect over in Buffalo, but I've always been the guy over here sitting in the corner yelling from my Flames bias that Dustin Wolf is as good or better of a goalie prospect, but I think it's just the difference between who's getting more opportunities and to show it off. Because I think if you put Dustin Wolf in the position Devin Levi was in last year, he'd be doing just as well.
If not better, I feel like.
Yeah.
How? Because what are we looking at now? Because Devin Levi is 21. Dustin Wolf, on the other hand, is he 20?
I believe he's 20. He is very young for a goalie prospect. Both him and Levi.
He's 22. He's 22.
I'm way off. That's my bad.
So, I don't know. Like
and
22,
most goalies,
I mean, it is still young.
Most goalies don't usually get that chance until they're like 25, 26. And that's usually where the conversation is, because if you go back through like history, especially in the 2010s, for how long teams will wait to give goalies a chance, like I think when did Carey Price start starting? Like Carey Price got the role after Halak in like 2012. He was drafted in I'm talking out of my ass, but you know what I mean. Like usually most goalies have to wait a fairly long time before getting that opportunity. And I think that's almost what the Flames were trying to do, but you run into the issue of he's ready. He's ready now.
Yeah.
You don't have to wait
Carey
that long.
Price, I think Carey Price might have started when he was 20.
Is that right? Am I off on that one again?
He started in He made his highly anticipated Canadiens debut October 2007. He was born in 1987.
When did he become
I
the
think
starter?
Halak. Uh,
Because I think
well, I think he was the starter. He was the starter, and then I think he lost the job to Halak. And then he eventually got it back.
okay.
Yeah, in 2010, both Price and Halak were restricted free agents, and a goaltending debate emerged in Montreal of who would remain with the team. After weeks of media speculation, the Canadiens chose Price and traded Halak to the St. Louis Blues.
Well, there you go. Yeah, like it's
Yeah. But
yeah.
even then, like you look at it, Carey Price struggled, and Carey Price is one of the best goaltenders in the NBA. Like you just can't. Like I
Carey
feel like
Price
the
wasn't the
Flames,
right example for that, but you know what I mean.
the
Like it's
the Flames. Well, I don't think it's a bad example. I think the Flames are doing the Flames' goal with holding Wolf out is to protect him. But by protecting him, they are doing literally the opposite of what they want, what they're intended to. Because by protecting him, by building up this much hype for him, you are just going to make it all the more disappointing if he flames out. And like if he flames out for the first few games, that's okay. But because you've held him out for so long and just dangled him in front of fans' noses, like, oh, here's a little Dustin Wolf. Here's a little Dustin Wolf. You want him? You want him? Like, oh, he's coming up from the AHL. No, he's not.
it's time.
By building
No,
all
it
this
isn't.
hype, by building up all this hype, you're just gonna like make it more frustrating if he doesn't work out. You are actively creating the situation you want to avoid, and like this is, I mean, the Dustin Wolf
Yeah, you're
situation
kind
can
of
make
right,
Flames
actually.
fans mad. Like this situation, there's a reason this situation makes Flames fans mad. Is because it's a sign that for the last 10 years, the Flames don't know what they're doing. They don't know jack shit.
Well, and we've also
They
just
don't know
not
what they're
had
doing.
we haven't had like a really good goalie that we've built ourselves since Kiprusoff. Because think about it, who we've brought in who has succeeded. Like the only goalie
I
I
don't
can
think we've had a
actually
good
think of
goalie since
in the
Kipper.
last 20 years. Well, you could make like Hiller made the All-Star team, Smith made the All-Star team. Like you can make an argument that we've had decent goalies, but the main thing decent.
Not
You can
good.
make but All-Star, you can make the argument though for both of those that we did not build them. They came here when
John
they were both
Scott made
like
the All-Star
33,
team.
34, 35. Like they both came later in their career. We have
Yeah.
not had a goalie prospect pan out since Kiprusoff. The only one that even
Yeah.
comes close is, as depressing as it is, David Riddick. He is the only name I can think of. Because there
Yeah.
was a moment where he was very much the starter here. Like, there,
Yeah.
that is the only goalie I can even think of as being like. Because think, 20 years, who can even name that we've built other than Kiprusoff?
Yeah, nobody.
Exactly. Like, it's funny because Dustin Wolf, it's almost like he's got 20 years worth of hype on him. I'd almost describe it. Where we finally have that guy. We finally have that prospect who is going to be the guy for us. We just, the Flames just need to pull the trigger. That's what it feels like. I have definitely been the person to say, I remember when he first got called up this season, I was like, he ain't going back down now. He is going to play incredible, and then obviously that's not what ended up happening. But that should show you the level of hype that there is around him in this city, because it's almost like it's like he's not going back down for 20 years level of like every. It seems like everybody's just waiting for the Dustin Wolf era to start. It's just, come on, when is it? When is it? When is it? It's that type of thing, right? Like it's, I don't know. He's gonna be really nuts when he gets like the proper chance to show it, but Kadri sliding into him will not help his case.
Yeah. You just got to give him time. Because
Yeah.
stuff like that's going to happen. And it's not going to look good on the stat sheet. But things normalize.
That's
So
true.
you got to give him an extended
Maybe
shot.
giving him the chance to fail wouldn't be a bad thing.
You have to. You have to. It's goaltending.
Yeah.
It's the most, like it's,
The only
it's
thing
an
you can even
enigma of a
compare it to is
position.
maybe pitcher in baseball.
But even then, pitchers I feel like don't fluctuate as wildly as goaltenders do. It's not as much of an enigma.
I don't
I
know
guess you
about
could say, I mean, there is some examples of that. So maybe it is pretty close of a comparison. I'm thinking of like Manoah for the Blue Jays, where he was
that. That's a really
fantastic
good
and
one.
then got sent down.
Well, and
Um,
it's the same thing with goalies, where like the best of the best don't fluctuate, just like pitchers.
Yeah.
Like, think of, like,
Yeah.
Carey Price for as long as he was in the league. He never fluctuated. Think of, like, I don't
Well,
know. Or at least, after, like, after he actually
after
became a
2010.
star. Yeah. Like, there was never questions about him. I'm trying to think. There really hasn't been a top goalie like Carey Price since Carey Price. Like, there's been a lot of people.
Vasilevsky,
Yeah, but he's fluctuated.
Hellebuyck. I don't think Vasilevsky has fluctuated.
Hasn't he? Or no, I guess more injuries has been more what I would call
Which you
his-
can't put on him.
Yeah, no, you can't put that on him. Okay, I take that back. But so like what? Vasilevsky, Price, go back further, Broder,
Hellebuyck.
like Luongo, like there's like
I think
those.
you can make the case for Hellebuyck.
You think so? Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, that's true. He's been consistent as well. Like there has just been like that select group of goalies, and if you want to look at pitchers, you can go like I don't know.
But
This is testing my knowledge of 2010s baseball, but like you can throw out a bunch of names. You know what I mean? It's the same thing.
Yeah. But it's the point being that it is an enigma position, and you're not going to, unless you have the next Martin Brodeur or Carey Price, you're not going to get consistent play. And even with Carey Price, when you're a younger player, there's going to be stretches where people say, should we keep Yaroslav Halak or should we keep you? One of the best goaltenders of the 2010s.
And it's
So you
crazy
have
to
to
think
give
about that.
you
now,
have to give
right?
him room to fail. You have to give him room
It's
to
crazy
fail.
because
And
like
they're not.
Halak was
They're
a
not.
good goalie at the time. Like it's not. That's not because like a lot of people forget that Halak was in the NHL for 20 years for a reason. Because he was very good in Montreal, and he was good after Montreal as well. But he's not Carey Price, right? And that's the biggest reason why when you look back at that battle, it's like, why would you even think about it, right? Like, but I mean, that's just goalies. Nobody knows, right? It's the same argument now with almost the same argument, Dustin Wolf Vladar. Do you really want to risk the idea that Dustin Wolf comes up and sucks and blows it? And it feels like that's what this management team is afraid of.
And you can't manage scared. You can't manage
Well, there you
scared.
go.
If you manage
Yeah.
scared, your job is lost. So Craig Conroy,
That's why
get on
that's
your
why the
fucking
Flames
horse.
have been mediocre for 20 years. It's because they managed scared.
Yeah, Craig Conroy. If you want to stick as a GM and prove you're not just again, I like Craig Conroy, but
I
if
do
you
too.
want to stick as a GM and prove that you're not just some old-timey boys club guy that they brought up because you played on the Flames in the past, get on your horse and make some moves. Don't manage scared. Prove that you are doing what needs to be done by making the right decisions for this team in the future. That's all we can ask. And that starts by making a definitive decision in the goaltending and stop like tiptoeing around this.
Because I understand
it's
the
not
idea
gonna
of
get any
wanting
better
to
if you
give
do.
Dustin Wolf more time on ice by playing in the AHL and avoiding having to have that battle for time with Markstrom, but that's dumb. You've done that enough. Like
Yeah.
he's just gonna. There's no point in
It's
giving
time.
him. Yeah, it's time. Like you got to let him battle for it. Like because seriously, as somebody who watches quite a few Flames games, there are times when I seriously wonder how big of a gap there is between Markstrom and Wolf, and it. Like, and that's not necessarily me saying that I think Wolf can come up and immediately take that spot for him, but I think that you would be stupid if you didn't give him the chance to. And if he can't, play him in the backup spot. Let's see what happens. Like maybe in a year he will be ready. Like I just think that you're making a huge mistake by just letting that sit on the burner.